Hey there, welcome to AMC Learnify YouTube channel, and I'm glad to have you here with me on this Microsoft Lists course. Microsoft Lists is more than just a basic list-making tool. It's a powerful tool that lets you store and organize various types of information in a way that's easy to understand and collaborate on. Whether you need to create to-do lists or shopping lists, Microsoft Lists has got you covered. But it doesn't stop there. With Microsoft Lists, you can do so much more. The best part is that Microsoft Lists is available as part of the Microsoft 365 subscriptions. If you're a subscriber with a Microsoft 365 Business or Enterprise account, you can take full advantage of Microsoft Lists either as a standalone tool or as a feature within Microsoft Teams. So, whether you prefer working independently or collaborating with a team, Microsoft Lists has the flexibility to accommodate your needs. During this tutorial, we'll explore how to create lists in Microsoft Lists, whether you want to start from scratch or use a pre-designed template. We'll dive into the process of customizing a list to fit your specific needs, adding items to it, and enabling real-time collaboration with your coworkers. To give you a practical demonstration, we'll focus on creating an inventory list and a schedule of events for a conference. However, along the way, you'll also gain insights into the diverse range of lists you can build and the data you can effectively organize using Microsoft Lists. So, get ready to unleash the full potential of this powerful tool. I wanted to kindly ask you to stick around until the end of this video. I've put in a lot of effort to make it informative, and I truly believe you'll find value in the entire content. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, I kindly ask you to consider subscribing to my channel. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with all the latest videos I upload. Don't forget to hit the bell icon as well, so you never miss a new upload. I truly appreciate your support, and it means the world to me. So let's get started. Let's take a look at how to access Microsoft Lists and get started with creating a list. Microsoft Lists is a feature included in the Microsoft 365 subscription, which used to be known as Office 365. If you already have a subscription, you can sign in at office@microsoft.com. As for me, I'm already signed in, so on the left side of the screen, you might see an icon for lists. If you don't see it there, you can go to the top left corner and find it in the chooser. Once you click on it, you'll be taken to the main screen for lists. We're going to start with a blank list, but keep in mind that you also have the option to start from an Excel spreadsheet or choose from a variety of templates. For this video, we'll stick with a standard blank list. First, you need to give a name to this list. In my case, I'll call it Inventory. Adding a description is optional, so you can skip that if you prefer. Next, you can select an icon for your list and choose a color for that icon. After that, let's move on to this menu. Here, you can decide whether you want to save this list in your general collection of lists or in one of your existing SharePoint sites. I'll choose to save it in my general collection of lists. Once you've made your selection, click on Create. Now we have our new list, but at the moment, it only has one column labeled Title. Before we start adding items to the list, we'll need to create more columns. In a simple list like a shopping list, you would typically just need one column for the names of the items. However, Microsoft Lists provides a more robust tool, so I'm going to add some additional columns for my data. To add a new column, simply click on Add Column here. In this case, I want to record the part number for each item in this inventory. So I'll need to choose the appropriate type of information for this column. Since I'm recording the part number, I'll format it as a number. Next, I need to provide a name for this column, and I'll call it Part Number. Once I've double-checked all the other settings, I'll click Save. After a moment, the new column will appear here. Now, let's add one more column. I'll click on Add Column again, and this time we're going to record the retail price for each item in this inventory. Since we're recording the price, it should be formatted as currency. So I'll select the currency format for this column and name it Retail Price. Make sure to double-check these settings. If you ever need to switch to a different currency, you can do so from this menu here. Once you're ready, click Save. Now, go ahead and set up the columns you need for the information you'll be including in your list. Remember, you can always edit these columns later if needed. In fact, I need to make a change to the part number column, so I'll click the arrow next to its name. From the menu that appears, I'll go to Column Settings and choose Edit. It turns out that my part numbers contain both letters and numbers, so formatting it as just a number won't work for me. So I'll simply change the part number column to be formatted as a line of text. I'll click Save and confirm the change. Okay, now my columns are all set up. Now, let's move on to adding items to the list. I can do that by clicking on the New button in the top left corner. Then I can start filling in the information for my first item. Take note that the fields here correspond to the columns we just created. First, I'll enter the name of the first part in my inventory in the title field. Then, I'll click on the part number field and type in the part number. Lastly, I'll go to the price field. Just keep in mind that the price field is formatted as currency, so it only accepts numbers. If you try to enter a letter, it will notify you that it's invalid. That's all right, you can simply delete it and type in the appropriate number for the price, then click Save. You've successfully recorded the information for the first item on your list, and you'll notice how the price is properly formatted as money. Now, let's click on New again to add the next item on the list. Actually, I need to add multiple items to this list, but you don't need to watch me do that. I'll fast forward in time. Okay, I've added several items to this list now. Later, if you need to make changes to any of the items, it's quite simple. Just click on the circle to the left of an item. At the top, you can either delete that specific item by clicking on the corresponding button, or you can click on the Edit button to make changes to it. However, for now, I'll just click Cancel. When you're finished working with your list, you can easily navigate back to the main page by clicking on Microsoft List near the top left corner. From here, you can access the lists you already have. You can switch between your recent lists or choose to view all of the lists you have. So, we've made a good start on our list. Microsoft Lists is capable of much more, but this lays the foundation for us. You can create a list, add items to it, and include all the necessary information for each item. Building a list manually is not the only way to create a list. If you already have an Excel spreadsheet containing your product inventory, it can make the process much easier. While some spreadsheets may work seamlessly without any additional setup, it's likely that you'll need to perform some quick formatting. So let's take care of that right away. To begin, I'll select the data in my spreadsheet that I want to import into Microsoft Lists. Once the desired data is selected, I'll navigate to the Home ribbon at the top and choose the Format as Table option. The choice of color style for the table doesn't have a significant impact, so feel free to select any of the available options. One thing I want you to notice is that I have labels for each of the columns in my spreadsheet, and these labels have been included in the selection. Microsoft Lists has detected these labels and recognized them as column headers. That's why the box is checked by default. It's important for your table to have headers, so I'll leave this option checked. In case there were no column headers in my spreadsheet, I would leave this box unchecked, and Microsoft Lists would automatically add generic headers like column 1, column 2, and so on. However, everything looks good here, so I'll click OK. It's crucial to remember to save the changes made in Excel, and I'll go ahead and quit Excel. Now, we'll return to Microsoft Lists, and this time we're going to create a new list. To import the Excel file into Microsoft Lists, click on the plus button at the top. In this case, we're going to import the Excel file, so select the option from Excel. If your file is stored on OneDrive, you can open it directly from there. However, since you have it stored on your computer, choose the Upload File option. Navigate to your Documents folder, locate the file that we just formatted, select it, and click Open. Next, we can review the data before importing it. Take note that it has recognized your column header labels, and it has also automatically detected the data type for each of these columns. However, if needed, you can modify the data type using the menus provided. The very first column is automatically identified as the title column, but in your case, you'd like to modify it. The title column is special and it's recommended to contain a unique identifier for each item on the list, distinguishing one item from another. In your spreadsheet, it appears that the information in the second column, the name column, would be a more suitable fit for the title. To make this change, simply access the menu for the column you want to modify. In this case, select the name column and designate it as the title. By doing so, the previous title column will be transformed into a normal column with its data type set as a single line of text. Feel free to go through the rest of the columns and adjust their setup as needed. Let's continue. Click on Next to proceed. Now we need to provide a name for this list. In this case, let's call it Product Inventory. Choose an icon and select a color for that icon. Additionally, decide where you want to save the list. Once you've made these selections, click on Create. Now we have the list created and it's displayed here. Notice that since we specifically identified the name column as the title column for this list, the first column is always reserved as the title column, and you can see that it contains the item names. The rest of the columns remain unchanged from the import, but you have the flexibility to modify columns after the import if necessary. It's always a good idea to double-check everything before moving forward. As you scroll all the way to the far right, you'll notice that you have the option to add more columns to your list. This allows you to customize and expand the information you track. Additionally, if you wish to rearrange the order of columns, simply drag them left or right to your desired position, and the changes will be updated instantly. Now that your list has been established, you can continue adding more items to it. To do so, click on the New button located at the top left corner. This will open a new entry form where you can fill in all the established fields for your item. Since you already have data in your spreadsheet, even if it's partial data, importing it into Microsoft Lists can be a much more efficient way to kickstart your list. Let's create a new list using one of the pre-made templates. To do that, we'll click on the New List button located at the top of the screen. Once we do that, we'll see a variety of templates available to us. These templates can give us an idea of the different types of lists we might want to create. For this particular list, let's choose the Event Itinerary template so we can effectively plan out sessions and meetings for a conference. When we select a template, it automatically sets up pre-made columns for us, and we can get a preview of how the list will look. Now, on the left side of the screen, I could switch to a different template if I wanted to, but since I like this one, I'll go ahead and click on Use Template. We can't forget to give our list a name. So, let's enter a suitable name for this list. So, you'll go ahead and type in the name for your new list. If you don't want to include a description, you can skip that part. However, you do have the option to set an icon and choose a color for that icon. Additionally, you can select where you want to save the list. Once you've made those choices, you can click on the Create button, and voila! You now have your brand new list. It's already formatted and includes the columns you need. But if you find that one of the columns doesn't quite fit your project, don't worry. You can easily modify it to suit your needs. To do that, you can click on the arrow located to the right of the column name. This will bring up a drop-down menu where you can select Column Settings and choose the Edit option. You can delete the column altogether, change its name, or modify the data type associated with that column. For example, let's say you want to keep the session code column, but you think it would be better formatted as a number instead of a line of text. You can make that change by selecting the appropriate data type, such as number. Once you've made your changes, click on Save and confirm your decision. If you need to add a new column to your list, you can simply scroll all the way to the right. Right there, you'll find an option to set up a new column. You can customize it according to your requirements. Moreover, you have the flexibility to change the order of your columns. To do this, simply click and drag the columns left or right to rearrange their position. This way, you can easily adjust the layout to suit your preferences. Remember, you can make these changes up front, during the setup process, or you can choose to modify them later, even after you've entered data into your list. The choice is yours. When you're ready to input data into your list, you can click on the New button located at the top left corner. By clicking on it, a form will appear where you can fill in the relevant information for your list. You don't need to fill in all the information, just enough to understand how it works. Let's go through the process step by step. First, you'll need to enter a name for the session. In this case, let's say it's the keynote speech. Next, you'll input the session code associated with the session. Now, you have the option to specify the session type. The field is pre-formatted as a menu and already includes some default options. For this example, let's set it as a keynote. If you don't want to provide a description for the session, you can skip that part. Moving on to the speakers section, this is an interesting feature because if your list is connected to your Microsoft 365 account, you can start typing in the name of the speaker. The system will search your company directory, allowing you to find the person you want and select them for the session. Now let's continue with the process. After filling in the required information, let's set the date for the session. To do this, you can click on the small calendar icon and a calendar will pop up. From there, you can choose the desired date for the session. Next, let's set the start time for the session. Similarly, we need to set the end date and the end time for the session. You can choose the end date using the same calendar icon, and then select the end time from the menu. Once you've completed entering the necessary information, you can leave the remaining fields as they are, or you can explore how they work. If you'd like to save the session details, simply click on the Save button. Congratulations! You have successfully added the first item to your list. Now, as you start contacting speakers, booking the venue, and working on various aspects of planning the conference, you can come back to this list and fill in each piece of information as you gather it. This list becomes your go-to tool for managing and planning the entire conference. As you can see, these templates serve as excellent starting points for creating various types of lists in Microsoft List. They provide a solid foundation that you can customize and build upon according to your specific needs. Let's start with your product inventory list, where the quickest way to make changes is by using the grid view. Look for a button at the top that says Quick Edit, or it might say Edit in Grid View for some users. Click on it, and you'll see the entire list displayed in a view similar to a spreadsheet. You can click on any individual cell in the grid view to make changes. For example, you can change the category for a specific item. After making a change in a cell, you can use the Tab key on your keyboard to move to the next cell, or the Return key to move down one cell. Alternatively, you can click on any cell to make changes. When you're done editing, look for the button at the top that says Exit Quick Edit or Exit Grid View, and click on it. In addition to the grid view, you can also edit individual items in your list. By pointing at an item, a button with 3 dots will appear, allowing you to open a menu and choose the edit option. Alternatively, you can select an item by clicking the circle to the left of it and then click the Edit button at the top to make changes to that specific item. Moreover, you can select multiple items at once by clicking the circles to the left of each item. Once multiple items are selected, you can perform bulk actions such as deleting all selected items or editing them simultaneously. This can be a convenient way to make changes to multiple items at once. When you select multiple items and make changes to a field, the changes will be applied to all the selected items. This can be a time-saving feature when you need to update multiple items with the same information. Regarding columns, you can access the column settings by clicking the arrow next to the column name and selecting Column Settings, then Edit. From there, you can modify the details of the column, such as the name, data type, and other settings. However, it's important to note that deleting a column will also remove all the data in that column for every item on the list. So, exercise caution when deleting columns to avoid unintended data loss. Instead of deleting a column that you're not currently using, it might be a better idea to hide it. So, let's go ahead and do that. I'll click on Cancel here to go back. Now, I'll navigate to that menu next to the column name once again, and select Column Settings. From there, I'll choose the option to hide this particular column. By hiding it, the column isn't completely gone, it's just hidden from your view. This way, you can focus on the specific columns that you need for the day and hide the rest. Now, if you ever want to bring those hidden columns back, simply open up the same menu, go to Column Settings once more, and choose Show and Hide Columns. That way, you can easily retrieve any hidden columns whenever you need them. Here, you can view all the potential columns that you could have, including the column you previously hid. If you want to bring back a hidden column, simply re-enable it from this list. Additionally, you have the option to rearrange the order of your columns using these arrow buttons. However, it might be much simpler to click on Apply here and then scroll all the way to the right. From there, you can easily locate the column and drag it left or right to change its position in the order. So, not only can we edit or delete any item on your list, which is represented by the rows, but we can also edit or delete individual data points, which are represented by the columns. It gives you a great deal of flexibility in managing your list and its contents. The last thing we need to cover is deleting an entire list. To do this, while you have the list open, click on the gear button located at the top right corner. Then, go to List Settings. Within the settings, you'll find an option to delete the list. So, go ahead and select that. It will ask you to confirm the deletion. Once you confirm, the list will be completely gone, and you'll be taken back to the front page and list view. Now, here's something worth noting. If you happen to be looking at the recent list, you might still see the deleted list item there. However, if you switch over to My List, it won't be there because the list has been deleted. But don't worry, if you're on the recent list and you want to remove the deleted list, simply open up the little menu next to it and choose Remove from Recent List. Confirm the action, and it will be removed from your recent list as well. And that's how you can add, edit, or delete data in lists. It's a straightforward process that allows you to manage your lists effectively. After you've built your list, there are plenty of options available to customize how you view and organize those lists. Now, I've filled in my conference itinerary using techniques we've learned from previous videos. Firstly, you have the ability to sort your lists quickly based on any column. Just click on the arrow next to a column name. For example, if I wanted to sort my list by the session type column, I could choose to sort it alphabetically in ascending order. As a result, all of my breakout sessions will be grouped together, followed by my networking sessions, and so on. It provides a convenient way to organize your list based on specific criteria. Not all column types support sorting, but many of them do. However, if you're looking for more options to customize your view, we can head over to the View menu located near the top right corner. The available view options will depend on whether you used a pre-made template, as different templates offer different views. Currently, I'm in the list view, but if we switch over to the gallery view, it might provide a much better way to visualize your information. Alternatively, we can go to the View menu and choose to group by session type. This will allow you to group your items based on their session type, providing a more organized and structured view of your data. This is another way to make it much easier to focus on specific sessions within this conference. It's quite clear that the option to view sessions by type is only available in lists that are built from templates supporting this feature, such as the event itinerary template. However, for even more customized options, you can go to the View menu and choose Create New View. I must mention that this option may not be available to you at the moment because it's a new feature and may not have been rolled out to all users at the time of this recording. If you don't see it now, I suggest checking back later. Nevertheless, I will demonstrate how to create a new view. I believe a calendar view will work very well for this purpose, so I'm going to name it Conference Calendar. Now, I need to define the start and end dates. Luckily, I have the start date and time in my list, so I'll use that as my start date. For the end date, I'll use the end date and time from my list. Alright, we're all set here, so I'll click on Create. In the future, you can access this view by going to the View menu and selecting the Calendar view. Now, I can see my entire conference on a calendar, which is quite convenient. If I want to see the details or edit a specific session, I can simply double-click on it. And it's important to note that these are still regular items on my list, they're just displayed in a more effective way in the Calendar view. If I want to close the Calendar view, I can simply click on the X here. Now, if I go back to the View menu, I have the option to reset by clicking on All Items, which takes me back to a more traditional view of my list. However, the Conference Calendar option is now available in my View menu whenever I need it. These alternative views are what make Microsoft Lists a much more effective tool for managing large and complex lists of all types. It provides flexibility and enhanced visualization options to suit different needs. You have the ability to share lists with other people and collaborate with them in real time. Additionally, you can collaborate on lists with your teammates in Microsoft Teams, but we'll cover that in another video. Now, I'm currently working on my conference itinerary list, but obviously, I can't plan the entire conference by myself. So, I'll navigate to the top and click on the Share button. If you're using a Microsoft 365 business account and your coworkers also have accounts within the same organization, you can simply search for their name, and it will find them in your company's directory. Alternatively, you can enter a regular email address like this, type in the address, and then click here to select it. In this case, it notifies me that the provided email address is outside of my organization. Therefore, this person will need to set up a Microsoft account in order to view or edit the list. Next, I'll go to this menu to review the permissions I'm granting. I have the option to allow somebody to only view the list, give them permission to view and make changes, or grant them full access, which allows them to share the list with others. For now, I'll select Can Edit as the permission level. I also want to enable the Notify option so that these individuals will receive an email with a link to open the list. Once I have everything set, I'll simply click on Grant Access. Now let's switch over to Stuart's computer to see what happens when somebody shares a list with you. Here I am on Stuart's computer, where I'm signed into his Microsoft 365 account on the website. If I navigate to the app chooser at the top left and go to Lists, I don't see the list that was shared with Stuart. However, if we switch over to Stuart's email by accessing Outlook, we can see that he has received an email notification informing him that the list has been shared with him. Stuart can simply click on the button in the email to open up the shared list, and voila, here we are. Since Stuart was given edit permissions, he has the ability to make changes to the shared list. He's going to quickly edit the name of his session in the conference. So he navigates to the respective field and types in the new name. After that, he clicks on Save, and we can see that the change has been successfully applied here. Additionally, I want you to notice that if we go back to the main page and list, which can be done by clicking on this button near the top left, you can see that the shared list now appears in Stuart's recent list. Now, let's switch back to my computer. Here I am again on my computer, and we can already see the change that Stuart has made to the shared list. Multiple people can have the same list open simultaneously and make changes. We will all see those changes applied in near real time with only a small delay. Now, if at any point I decide to revoke Stuart's access to this list, I can simply go back to the Share button at the top. Then, I can click on the button with the three little dots and choose Manage Access. In this view, I can see a list of all the individuals who have access permissions for this list. If I click on the menu next to Stuart's name, I can change the type of permission he has, or I can completely stop sharing the list with him. That's how you can share your list and collaborate with your coworkers effectively. If your main goal is to collaborate on a list with your coworkers and you already use Microsoft Teams, you'll likely want to leverage the feature that allows you to use lists within one of your teams. So, let's start here in Microsoft Teams. I'm currently in the Teams category on the left-hand side, where I can see a list of all the teams that I'm a member of. I need to select the specific team that I want to work with. Additionally, I need to choose the specific channel within that team where I want to utilize the Lists feature. Next, I'll select the desired channel within the team. At the top, you'll notice various tabs such as Post, Files, Wiki, and more. To add a new tab, I'll click on the plus button and then select Lists from the options. Once I'm satisfied with the settings, I'll click on Save. Now, I have access to lists within this team channel. If I want to return to the conversations in this channel, I can simply click on the Post tab. And to go back to the lists, I can click on the List tab. It's important to note that every member of this team can access the list we create here, and the interface is essentially the same as the regular list tool. I can click on Create a List to make a new list within the Teams interface. Similar to the normal list tool, I have the option to create a new blank list, import from an Excel file, or use a template. However, in Teams, there is an additional capability. For now, let's click on the Back button at the bottom. You'll notice an option to add an existing list. This allows you to import a list that you've already created using the standard list tool. It's worth mentioning that this process can be a bit more complex. You might notice that there are no lists available for me to choose from here, even though I know I have some lists in the standard list tool. To understand why, let's switch over to the Lists app. I already have it open in another tab. Let's go through the process of creating a new list here. I'll click on New List at the top. I can choose a template and click on Use Template. Now, I should give it a name and choose an icon. However, the interesting thing here is this menu, where you set the location for where you want to save the list. And here's the important part. In the previous lessons, when I created new lists, I simply saved them in the standard My List category. However, I have the option to save lists in one of my existing SharePoint sites. It's worth noting that, with a few exceptions, every team I'm a member of in Microsoft Teams has a corresponding SharePoint site. So here's the trick. If I want to add a list to a specific team later on, I must save the list to the SharePoint site that corresponds to that team. Let's do that now. Since we're working in the licensing and legal team, I'll select the SharePoint site associated with that team, and then I'll click on Create. Now I've created that list. Of course, I should add some items to the list, but for now, we have enough to work with. Now I'll switch back to Microsoft Teams. Here we are on the main screen again, and I have just added lists to this team. If I click on Add an existing list, I can see the list that I created and saved in the corresponding SharePoint site. I'll select it, and now the tab at the top displays the name of that list. Any member of this team can access the list from here. I want to highlight that this method can be a little complicated. So my recommendation is that if you know you're going to be using a list in Teams, it's best to start in Teams and create the list there. From here, almost everything else works the same as the normal list tool in Microsoft 365. However, in Teams, any member of the team can easily find and work on the list directly within the Teams interface. So, as we wrap up this final video, we want to leave you with a message: keep spreading positivity, chasing your dreams, and embracing the beauty of life. Together, we can make the world a better place. See you in another video. Love and peace.